You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm Stephen Cabral, and I'm happy to have you back on our second edition, our second half of our house call questions that come in over the past couple weeks from our community. So really amazing questions, as usual, came in over the last couple weeks. I answered about 7 or 8 of those yesterday. One thing before we get into today's show that I wanted to mention was that I forgot on Kelly's question to as I'm reading over just the different questions yesterday and which ones I'm going to be doing today, I forgot to mention that vitamin A, getting enough vitamin A is crucial for people with melasma. So melasma is essentially hyperpigmentation, but most people with some type of skin-based issue, eczema, psoriasis, a little excluded from that, but pigmentation-based issues, even those little red dots in the back of the arm, vitamin A is sometimes deficiency. So apricot kernel oil, really great for people with melasma to rub on that hyperpigmentation, and also making sure you're taking a good multi, like our activated multi or the daily nutritional support that has natural beta carotene in it. And of course, you can do one of my favorite juices, which is carrot juice. All right, so now let's get into today's questions. So the first question is from Carolyn. Hello, my son has a story very similar to your own health journey. He was healthy until age 12 when he suddenly became so sick that he was virtually in bed for the next 4 years. Finally, after 22 specialists, he was diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome and POTS. So for anyone who doesn't know what POTS is, I do want to just explain that quickly before I read the rest of the question. And it's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And essentially what that is especially in most people, when they go from a seated to standing position, the heart rate just drastically jumps. Tilt table test is one of those things as well. They can start to get irregular accelerated heart rate, arrhythmias. My own personal journey with it was I would just walk up a flight of stairs. This was only one part of it. I would get about 6 stairs up. My heart rate would get to somewhere around 160 beats per minute, 170. Now, keep in mind, that's the equivalent of a sprint. So if you just finished a sprint, you have to rest for a second, right? Well, picture going up 6 stairs and it feeling like a sprint. So now you can maybe understand why I had to lie down or sit down at the top of that stairs, because I could feel my heart beating through my chest. So it's obviously not fun to deal with, especially not for a 12-year-old. It's terrible. I was 17, 18, but obviously Carolyn's son is 12, now maybe 16. He has all sorts of stomach issues, and I put him on your candida cleanse, and then we will start your gut fixer. Is there anything he can do to help with the constant need for water due to low blood volume from POTS, plus the chronic fatigue and other dysautonomic problems? He does not seem to be affected by histamines, so I feel his problem is more POTS related. God bless you, and thank you. All right, thank you, Carolyn. Great question. Obviously, feel for your son. I was in the same exact position. I was given like a dozen different diagnoses of all random based things. POTS was part of those. Myalgic encephalomyelitis was another one. Chronic fatigue, immune dysfunction syndrome was another one. Okay, so one thing that helps, let's just get right into the answer. So one thing that helps with a low blood volume is increasing his B vitamins, making sure he's getting enough of minerals. A lot of children and adults who go through this are electrolyte deficient. One thing that will help with the arrhythmia and the accelerated heart rate is magnesium. Magnesium citrate powder before bed is great, or magnesium glycinate, which is what I prefer just throughout the day. 1 capsule at each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If everything feels fine after a week or two, then you could add more magnesium, maybe 2 caps per meal, and that should be pretty good. If he starts to get tired because of the magnesium, then just do 1 cap with breakfast, 1 at lunch, and then 2 to 3 at dinner. And then that will work nicely. If he gets loose stool, then you'll downgrade the amount of magnesium that you're using. So another thing that, this whole reason for POTS in general is an increased sympathetic nervous system dominance. It leads to high cortisol production, which also leads to high aldosterone output. Nobody ever talks about aldosterone. It's a hormone on the cortisol catabolic pathway. It changes blood pressure, changes sodium volume, changes how the kidneys look at potassium and sodium, and it decides to which one it dumps and which one it holds on to, essentially. I don't want to get too deep into the biochemistry right there, except that it can also affect blood volume and how much water you can hold. So one of the reasons why your son's so thirsty, like I was, I used to drink, I could just pop my mother literally looked on at me in horror when I would just fill up glass after glass of water and just chug them down. That would make most people throw up, but I needed more water in my body. Another reason was I had blood sugar issues as well. So that's another sign. But the problem is the water's not sticking. It's not holding in his body. And that's most likely because he doesn't have enough sodium either, potentially, right? So what I would do is look towards adding some sea salt to his meals, or even sea salt in that water to make it a little bit more stable, a little bit more structured so they can actually absorb more of the water. Then I would say is that with mastocytosis, vitamin C, it helps tremendously. So vitamin C will decrease histamines. It will help with the mastocytosis. But really, like you're doing, is you need to fix the gut. You need to fix the gut in the long run because you need to eliminate the candida, eliminate the bacterial overgrowth, and then start to repopulate with something like the daily probiotic support, which is what I highly recommend. That's for people with histamine issues. That's for people that can't tolerate dairy as well. It's just a great overall probiotic. And the reason is, too, until he gets his gut functioning well, he can't produce his own enzymes to degrade histamine. And I've talked about those before. That's mainly diamine oxidase. As long as he's not having a food-based issue, he doesn't need to supplement with that enzyme specifically. Lots of smoothies. Instead of water, just smoothies. Carrot juice, again, is one of my favorites. Celery juice. He's not going to do great with leafy green juices because of the histamines and because of the lectin-based issues, most likely. But celery, carrot, maybe a little bit of ginger in there, a little bit of lemon if he handles the histamines in that okay. Instead of just water, that's going to replenish his body with much more usable potassium, sodium, calcium, and whatever that magnesium, whatever that fourth electrolyte that I left out is. So, Carolyn, everything is fixable. This is fixable. I'm living proof. I went through exactly what he's going through. It could have been worse. It doesn't matter. We're not playing who's disease is worse than another person's. It doesn't matter. He's in bad shape. I was in bad shape. People have it worse than me or had it worse than me. I have more energy right now, 20 years later, than I ever had in my life. What did it happen overnight? Absolutely not. It was a journey. It was an absolute journey. But I got better. I feel fantastic right now, and I know that your son can experience the same thing. And who knows? A lot of good came from my situation, right? I was down and out. I wasn't given too much hope of ever recovering. But now what am I doing? I'm using this for good. Good can come out of all these hard situations. Your son may go into natural health himself, or it just might make him a stronger person. I know it will. I know it will, as long as it doesn't let him take him down. Okay. Really appreciate you writing in, and I want to hear his progress report. Bettina is up next. Thank you so much for your outstanding information podcast. Look forward to listening every day. It's the thing that gets me out of bed every morning at 5 a.m. Thank you, Bettina. I appreciate that. I would love your advice on my husband's condition. He's 45. I'm going to ad-lib this just a little faster. But when he was in his 20s, he got a football injury to his thigh, and now it's causing hip problems at 45 years old. Seems to be a knock-on effect of his body compensated for the injury. He's done MRIs. It looks like he has osteoarthritis, I should say. He eats well. It lives a good, healthy lifestyle, trying to stave off a hip replacement for as long as possible. Would like to eliminate altogether if possible with the right treatment. Thanks for all you do. Okay, so Bettina, this is pretty straightforward. I've been working with people rehabilitation-wise for about 17 years. So here's the thing. The joint's deteriorating. It has deteriorated. One day there will most likely need to be a hip replacement. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It's not, because a hip replacement, honestly, you are back on your feet within, back on your feet within a week, but really being able to be active, doing whatever you want, exercising in a month. It's tremendous. You could do stairs now after hip replacement in 2 weeks. So I'll tell you right now, knee replacement, it's difficult. It's painful rehab, but it has to be done in some people where it's not getting better, obviously. Shoulder as well. Really, rotator cuff surgery, painful, tough to recover, but you do recover. It just takes longer. It takes about 8 weeks. But hip surgery, no problem at all. I mean, I'm not saying no problem. Obviously, it's surgery. But what we want to do now, though, is say, can we get your husband 5 years, 10 years where he doesn't need the surgery? So my recommendations are this. Strength training. I know it's going to be a little painful at the beginning, but strength training, the glutes, the IT band, the TFL, the hip flexors, meaning like the psoas, the ab and adductors. Why? so that the muscles can better support that joint. That's exactly why. When the muscles do more of the work rather than the skeletal system, he's going to have less pain. Okay, the next thing we need to do is your husband just has to be a little bit more cautious than others on an anti-inflammatory diet plan. I recommend the Dr. Cabral Detox for 7, 14, or 21 days to dramatically decrease inflammation. If he is virtually pain-free after 21 days, you know that this is a partial food-based issue. It's an inflammation-based issue from food. And the Dr. Cabral Detox will show him that. Okay? If after the Dr. Cabral Detox, really following that, doing his strength training, and he still has pain there, then it's time to use a good nutritional supplement product. Like the ones that I spoke about on the Natural Pain Relievers episode, please just go to StephenCabral.com/438. Okay, the top 3 natural pain relievers. I know that you know the one I'm talking about because you mentioned it before. So you can use one of those pain relievers that are natural herbs that help with osteoarthritis. And I mentioned it during the show. Okay, the other thing is turmeric. Turmeric works if Advil works, typically. They work by the same pathway. So 3 to 4 grams a day. Now, keep in mind, most people, one capsule of turmeric is about 500 milligrams. That's a half a gram. So you do the math, it's a lot of turmeric, right? It's a lot of capsules. Turmeric can be expensive. However, it may be worth it in your husband's case because I've seen it work tremendously well after using it for about 3 weeks. So 3 to 4 grams a day, that's going to be about 2 to 4 capsules per meal, right? It's about 8 capsules per day. So if I do the math, that's about right. 2 to 3 capsules per meal. And that should help. So hopefully that gets you moving in the right direction. Christine is up next. Dear Dr. Cabral, I cannot thank you enough for your help regarding my German fatigue. I'm following your advice and slowly starting to feel better, which is such a great relief. So thank you, Christine. I actually remember that question. I do remember answering that. This time I contacted you on behalf of my husband. So we have a lot of very caring wives. This is great, asking for their husband. And the funny thing is, in my practice, it happens all the time because guys are much slower. We as a species are much slower to get into doing the self-care where women are much more proactive. And so I appreciate you trying to get your husband involved as well. So since about 2 months ago, he is having a strange itch on the palms of his hands and fingers. There's no redness, no little blisters, just something that looks like thicker skin, which could be the result of him ongoing scratching. I do not know which came first. He starts scratching, the itch gets worse, and of course the skin gets red then. I wonder if it's a contact allergy or food allergy or something completely different. Do you have any ideas? I'm thankful for any suggestions. Best regards, Christine. All right, Christine, you're right on the money. This is an easy one to answer. I had this myself, but then again, I pretty much had everything. So great learning tool, I'll tell you that. Life is a good way to learn a lot of these lessons, and hopefully we just don't keep repeating them over and over. So itchy hands, itchy palm. There's an old saying that you're going to win money. That's not the truth. At least it wasn't in my case. I've never won any money or anything like that. But a very good possibility of an environmental allergen. That's grass, mold, pollen during this time of season especially. But also it can be laundry detergent. It can be a pet. It could be a cleaning detergent that he puts his hand on a table. Check all of those things. Check to see if you changed detergent lately for laundry. That's a big one that people do. Check to see if there's any now new foods in his diet. So figure out when this started. Ask him, what new changed in your environment at work? What new changed in terms of outside allergens? Did anything change in terms of household products? I'll be talking a lot more about that in my upcoming book. And then what about foods? Lectins, that's a big one. Run a food sensitivity test, my highest recommendation. Again, all these things will link up in the show notes, but you can always just go to StephenCabral.com/store. It's like a little, I call it like a little toy store for people who are into health. It just gives you all little different tips here and there of things that are helpful. It will only continue to grow each and every month as we put a lot of our favorite product picks up there. Okay, it can be yeast overgrowth. That was basically my last thought that just kind of jumped in my head right there is candida as well can show up as itchiness. All right, Christine, that was a pretty straightforward one, and I hope you get those results for your husband very soon. Okay, Lisa is up next. I apologize. I've been talking all day. It's actually close to 6 o'clock at night, and I'm recording my podcast, but because I did not get to it sooner. So you'll have to apologize about my hoarse voice. That's what, not quite 12 hours, but somewhere around 10 hours does to you speaking. So Lisa's asking, hi, Stephen. I've suffered with migraines for the last 4 to 5 years. Over the last 12 to 24 months, they have become a lot more frequent. I'm getting them at least 1 to 2 times per month. Talks about the medications that she takes. She has some digestive issues, constipation, despite a healthy nutritional program that she's on. She was prescribed a laxative. What's your view on beta blockers? There's my Boston accent, even for the short term. She started working with a registered dietitian who told her zinc levels were low. They're low even though she takes 50 milligrams per day. She's taking certain nutritional products like a probiotic, magnesium citrate, and zinc before bed. Any suggestions would be appreciated. Okay, so I think you're going to get a lot out of this. I answered these on podcasts actually before your question came in. So what I'd like to do is just direct you to those. So on yesterday's Cabral House Call, please tune into that. I want you to tune into that because someone had a question on migraines as well. I also linked up to episode 231, 274, 330, and 445, all on migraines and headaches. And then just last week on episode 445, I gave you 10 natural remedies for headaches, and migraines was included in that. So all of your answers are right on that show. Without a doubt, you'll be able to find your answer within that particular protocol. And you'll also be able to do what I recommend in the acute phase when you do get a migraine. My thought on beta blockers are, I don't see why anyone would ever take beta blockers or cholesterol medication like statins or any of those things, because all of those things are very treatable from an underlying root cause level of why high blood pressure, of why constriction of the arteries, of why any of these things are happening. And, why might you be low on zinc? Well, zinc is simply used for all tissue repair. It's used for immunity. It's used to fight off pathogens. It's used to boost hormones. So, it looks like you're on the right path, but you may also want to run, again, a food sensitivity test to see if any of these foods that you're eating from an IgG perspective are causing migraines as well. Okay, next up is Alex. Alex is asking, hi, Dr. Ball. I've listened to your podcasts and about food sensitivities, healing your gut, allergies, hives. I agree and believe in your concepts about the origin of these problems and treating them. I'm hoping you can help explain where to start among all of your recommendations. I've suffered from hives and eczema for 7 years. They are unpredictable and sporadic, sometimes multiple times a day, sometimes nothing for weeks. I've tried eliminating things from my diet, stopped taking any medications, and most recently did a 10-day detox. Not a Dr. Ball detox, but a doctor-monitored detox followed by probiotics, but still have recurring hives. I also have developed some digestion problems in the past year, frequent feelings of bloating and fullness. I believe that's all connected, but don't know what to treat first. Do you suggest doing the food sensitivity testing first and then eliminating the items my body sensitive to? Or would you recommend doing bacterial and candida protocol to clean and restore the gut first? Thanks in advance. Okay, I'm going to make this really simple for you. Again, hard for me to give exact recommendations, which legally you can't do that. That's just not the case, but I'm giving you what I would do. And in your position, I would start with the organic acids test and the food sensitivity test. If you can only do one, my recommendation is the organic acids test. Because keep in mind, this is very important for everyone. That's why every question I believe everyone should listen to, because it can help you in other areas of your life. A detox, whether it's whatever one you did, which I don't know what it was, or the Dr. Ball detox, is not a candida detox, and it's not a bacterial overgrowth in the intestine detox. It doesn't detox those things. It detoxes your blood. It removes pathogens, pesticides, PCBs, all sorts of stuff floating around your blood. It balances healthy inflammation. It helps to balance blood sugar. It teaches you healthy eating. It gives your liver more of the nutrients that it needs. I mean, it's remarkable in what it does, but it does not do, and is not supposed to do, what the Candida protocol does. And I don't believe you're someone that should be taking probiotics right now. So what I would do is, if you're going to choose one, choose the organic acids test. If you can choose two, choose the organic acid test and the food test. And if you could do three, I would do the hair tissue mineral analysis to see if you have any high copper imbalances or heavy metals, which are causing this exacerbation potentially of the eczema and psoriasis. Okay, so I would do the organic acids test. I would do those labs I talked about. And then I would do the Candida protocol if it shows relative that you need to do that. And then I would do the gut support protocol, which is it's shorter. It's just one thing. And that's when you start taking probiotics as well to seal up the gut wall. And that's the glutamine, that's the zinc. And at the same time, our exclusive gut healing guide that comes with the Candida protocol and the bacterial overgrowth protocol includes all the foods that won't feed Candida, that won't cause the bloating. And it also tells you which ones are high histamines. So it's pretty remarkable. I honestly believe it's the best thing out there. And of course, my only allegiance is to doing the best, giving you the best. So most of them aren't even our products. And again, we only create our products if there's a need for it in the marketplace. And we sell it. Everyone who's a colleague of mine tells me I'm insane for selling for a 12-week protocol with 9 different products with all the coaching that goes along with it, meaning like the nutrition plan, all that, for $299. You won't find that anywhere else. And it's simply because the gut is the most important thing to heal. If you never heal that, you honestly don't really have a lot of hope or positivity for healing an autoimmune issue, for healing a skin issue, for healing digestive issues, for healing fatigue issues, because 80% of your immune system lies in your gut. How is it possible that we're not, even from a conventional medicine standpoint, healing the gut? Okay? And again, an organic acid test, if you're someone that's skeptical, I get that. Totally fine with that. I'm a data person as well. Run an organic acid test. It will tell you. It will show you if there is an issue. So hopefully that helps. Obviously a little bit of a tangent there, but that is what I'm all about, tangents. All right, so Larissa is up next. Hi, I was wondering what your thoughts were on live blood cell analysis. A lot of holistic nutritionists and naturopaths seem to be for it, but it seems like traditional doctors are against it. Thanks, Larissa. Okay, so let's step back. Traditional doctors, which technically conventional medicine is not traditional doctors, medical doctors, MDs, came about maybe a couple hundred years ago, maximum. Traditional doctors are naturopaths, natural hygienists, and let's just call a spade a spade. It is what it is. Natural medicine was all there was until 150 years ago or so, maximum. So anyway, another little tangent there. But I use live blood cell analysis as well as dried blood cell analysis under a very high-powered microscope in my office. I love high tech. But here's the thing. The reason why traditional doctors don't like it is only because they've never been trained in it. But a histologist or someone with a background in looking at blood, actually, this is how you look for syphilis. You can look for Lyme disease this way. You look for parasites this way. So to deny it is just ignorance, because this is what they do in labs by traditional doctors, by scientists, by, actual doctors of, certain types of medicine. I don't know the best, parasitology, when you look at the parasites. I've actually seen spirochetes. I've seen the Borrelia, which is the bacteria, on my microscope, which is remarkable. However, here's where I believe sometimes natural health practitioners may take it too far. I never use that as a diagnostic tool. It's not a diagnostic tool. It is an insight into someone's living blood. Now, keep in mind, it's their blood. You can't deny it's accurate. Look at it. It's their actual blood. And you can see clumping together of red blood cells. You can see bacterial particles in the blood. You can see a lot. Very, very important to look at. I think it's fantastic. So, yes, I would use it. But again, if someone's saying they can detect these things on your blood, keep in mind, it's not a diagnostic tool. It gives me, when I'm doing my consultations with people, whether it's over Skype, we don't obviously do this over Skype, but I'm looking for at least a half a dozen different markers that they're telling me that I'm pulling out of their story that all point to the same thing. And then what I do is I send out for a functional medicine lab or a couple of them. And that then is again, it's not diagnostic because only MDs can diagnose disease. I understand that. But it gives us the insight into the underlying root cause of really what's going on. So hopefully that helps. Yes, but you should definitely believe in it because it's your own blood right up on the screen. It's the real deal. So I think it's fantastic. And remember, conventional medicine will never believe in what natural medicine believes in because they simply weren't taught it. But then all of a sudden they start believing in fish oil. They start believing in vitamin D. They start believing in, all sorts of different things like leaky gut because finally they're like, oh yeah, it does exist. We now know. But it's not MD's fault. It's the American Medical Association and others who teach the curriculum. MDs can only know what they're taught, okay? All right, let's move on. Pauline is up next. Hello, question number 1. So I guess we have multiple questions. I'm currently detoxing using a particular supplement. It's Da Vinci Benefits Liver Support. Perhaps you don't want to say the name on your podcast. Too late for that. No, I don't mind ever mentioning anyone else's products. We're all here to learn from each other and to help each other. So I have no problem with that. I just won't obviously disparage anyone. That's not the case. I will never talk negatively about anyone. I don't think it's appropriate. Even taking a low dose of this product, I get super nauseous or fiery heartburn that doesn't go away. I thought it might be the healing crisis, but it lasted for about 2 weeks. I read horror stories about people taking chlorella. This product has cracked cell chlorella. Now I'm taking 1/6 of the recommended dose every day. Could it be the chlorella that's making me feel so ill, or could it be that my liver is just full of junk? I don't work around heavy metals, chemicals, and I've cut out just about all of the processed food. Question 2, is there a way to detox at a cellular level without supplements? sweating, eating organic food, drinking filtered water, etc. I love the idea of detoxing and want to be a part of it, of my yearly routine, but I almost want nothing to do with it if it makes me feel sick. Okay, so I don't know the product that you're talking about. I know the company. They're a very good company. I obviously have the Dr. Cabral Detox. That's what I know works. That's what I used literally for 4 years before I even offered it online. So again, we offered it online because we're booked out, at the clinic, and it's my message. It's my job, I believe, to share what what works best. So meaning like if you can never meet with us one-on-one, it's not a problem. You can do all the things that we have online, and the Dr. Cabral Detox is really just the best way to do that. It helps the greatest amount of people with the least amount of work. So that's why we have it. With Da Vinci, there absolutely could be some herb that you're reacting to. It could be the cracked cell chlorella for sure. It's a possibility. It could be a healing crisis, like you said, which is called a Herxheimer reaction. But if you're taking a sixth of the dose and it's still making you feel ill, well, yes, it could be your liver that's just accumulated many years of toxins. So why don't you do this? You could test a hair tissue mineral analysis to find out if you have a lot of heavy metals in your body, such as mercury, which, keep in mind, mercury, aluminum. Cracked cell chlorella is amazing at pulling lead, mercury, any of these heavy metals out of your body. Now, what if it's pulling them out of your body, but you're then feeling the negative effects towards that? Okay, so I'm going to give you something to look at in a moment. Or you can run our toxicity test. Again, you just go to StephenCabral.com/store, click on wellness. It's a simple urine test. It will show you how high your levels are of pesticides, flame retardants, any plastics, any of the things in the environment that cause cancer, essentially. I mean, they're carcinogens. They're legitimate carcinogens. So that's a great lab to run. And then you might know that's why you're having a Herxheimer-based reaction. The other thing is it just might not be the right product for you, right? It just might not be the right one. Maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm not, but we usually don't get these types of reactions with the Dr. Cabral Detox for, again, whatever reason. It's obviously people's prerogative. And we also offer a refund on ours. Like, we're just saying, like, look, we're only offering this to help people. If you feel it doesn't help you, return it. There's no problem at all. Like, I don't have an issue with that. We have an empty bottle return policy. Use it all. Try it out. If you didn't get the results that you were looking for, which you will, but if you felt that way, then feel free to return it. That's not an issue at all. We're in the business of helping people. But now, how can you detox without doing an actual detox? Well, you can do smoothies. That's the biggest thing. Remember, that's how you ease into it. Every morning, use something like our daily nutritional support or your favorite all-in-one. And you also put some fresh berries in there. You do things that help just to naturally detoxify the body. Okay? Really helpful. A intermittent fast once a week will be helpful. And again, previous podcasts I've spoken many times on this. An infrared sauna helps tremendously. Okay? Dry brushing every morning takes 3 minutes. Helps tremendously. Drinking at least half your body weight, so your pounds of body weight, in ounces of water each day. You weigh 160 pounds. That's 80 ounces of water per day. That's 10 glasses of water. Okay, so there's a lot you can do to detoxify: exercise, sweat, yes, all of those things, so that the next time you go to detoxify, it won't be as challenging, as painful. We always have people write in and say, the first detox was the hardest. The second one, not so bad. The third one, not so bad. The fourth one, I don't even feel it anymore. And that's the sign of a very healthy body. Okay, so hopefully that helps you out, Pauline. Last question of the day is from Scott. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you so much for your podcast and sharing your wealth of knowledge. My girlfriend introduced me to me and is always forwarding me helpful information. Look at all the women on today's podcast helping out their significant others. That's great. I have 2 topics I was hoping you could address. I'm 30 years old, fit, active, and eat well. I suffer from depression. I am not at risk of hurting myself, but I am constantly feeling down. I try so hard to have a positive outlook on life, but constantly feel tired and depressed. I don't want to go on antidepressants. I was hoping you could help me sort out some of the natural alternatives besides exercise. The second is tonsil stones. They gross me out so much. I've recently started extracting them, but feel like lately they are there every day. Is there a natural way to get rid of them? Thanks again so much for all you do for everyone. Okay, so I'm not going to answer the depression one today because I answered it on yesterday's podcast. So simply go to StephenCabral.com 456, only because, again, we're not going to be able to get through all these questions if I don't start pointing back to some podcasts. We're too far behind, and I want to make sure everyone gets their question answered. So I answered that in depth yesterday, okay? But Scott, do remember, I do want to help you, and so if that answer didn't help you, if that wasn't the appropriate thing, then let me know, and I will answer it again. So I'm happy to do that. And again, there are natural alternatives. Again, keep in mind, St. John's wort, 5-HTP, GABA. People use those with tremendous success. In Europe, they use St. John's wort all the time for depression. Light boxes in the morning, it works tremendously. 30 minutes every morning within 3 feet of that when you wake up. Keep yourself there for 30 minutes. 5-HTP on an empty stomach, once in the morning, maybe mid-afternoon, definitely before bed, 100 to 200 milligrams. I mean, again, all of these things are extremely helpful for people with depression. Sorry, I couldn't just point to yesterday's show. I always feel like I need to give more. All right, so let's go into tonsil stones now. Now, tonsil stones, for those people who don't know, seen them quite a bit. It's actually calcified bacteria and debris that get lodged in your tonsils. So, yeah, it is pretty nasty for people. It can cause halitosis, bad breath, any of those things. And you can literally pull them out. It's like literally stones. They're little rocks because it's been calcified. So always, tonsil stones means lymphatic congestion. Your tonsils are basically lymph. There's something going on in your body. Now, to remedy this, which will also help with the depression, we need you to do rebounding, jump up and down on trampoline every morning. We need you to do dry brushing. We need you to do the sauna. Okay, those things will help move the lymph. Also, to get rid of the tonsil stones, I want you to start using grapefruit seed extract, the drops. You can use 5 drops 2 to 3 times per day in water, or you can use it as capsules, grapefruit seed extract by Nutribiotics. You can use peppermint oil capsules. Those are fantastic as well for tonsil stones. And 2 more things. Nutribiotic throat spray. Use their throat spray. We have just part of our ENT protocol. It will come with all these things. That's what I recommend. Spray that, 5 sprays on the back of your tonsils twice a day. Get that zinc back there, that grapefruit seed extract back there. Salt water gargling will help to break up the stones. It will also help to alkalize your mouth, balance bacteria. Spit out the salt water after gargling for about a minute. Vitamin C for extra credit. So extra credit is just how can we get your body to detoxify a little bit more, to help balance your immune system. I really believe that 1 month of doing this, the tonsil stones should be gone for good. So hopefully that answered everyone's questions today. I appreciate each and every single one of your questions and each and every single one of your listens. And as always, if this episode or any others could help anyone that you know, please do feel free to pass it along to them. Take care, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend.
I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.